What's going on, guys? I'm Ghosty, and today we're going to be talking about how to play and counter the Tempest class. If you want to learn the basics of this class and what builds to run, you can click the link in the description or watch my ultimate class guide video. Tempest is all about aerial mobility and making yourself as difficult as possible for your opponents to hit you as you take advantage of the class skills by remaining in the air, which naturally gives you height advantage. There is a ton of nuance with Tempest which can help you elevate your game and be the airbender you've always wanted to be. Tempest arguably has the highest skill cap in the game and requires a lot of quick and precise movement as well as great aim, as the mobility significantly increases the difficulty in hitting your shots. The 4 skills in Tempest grant you mobility and provide extra advantage for remaining in the air. Due to this, you generally want to remain in the air at all times, as this is where you are at your strongest, and aiming up at opponents remains to be one of the most difficult ways to aim in any shooter. However, remaining in the air also makes you very vulnerable as you're in the open with no cover, which we will go into detail later in this guide. The biggest reason to be picking Tempest is your mobility. Your level 1 skill, Windsurge, is the bread and butter of Tempest and is the most used skill due to the raw mobility it provides. Wind Shear is one of the most important spells, and your placement has to be precise and used correctly. It is simple to use yet difficult to master, as the possibilities of the mobility it provides are limitless. It not only provides you with great verticality by shooting the floor or scaling up walls, but can also be used horizontally on surfaces, which is great for escaping dangerous situations and kiting opponents. Proper and quick placements of your wind shears is crucial to take full advantage of your mobility and reduce the amount of wind shears necessary to conserve mana to leave room for attacks. The less time you spend wind jumping means you have more time to keep eyes on your opponent and take a proper shot. When looking to wind hop, you want to ensure you wind hop directly underneath your character, and it is important to not jump as you will gain more height this way. You will typically only need to hop 2 to 3 times to then take aim for your shot with your offhand weapon, then focus on wind hopping another time to keep your position in the air and cycle with attacks. When you are wind hopping, it is all about the different angles and distances you are at. Think about the type of terrain you are hitting and how it will interact with your character when using Windsurge. I would highly suggest going into practice mode and testing the skill on different terrain and from different angles to fully understand how it interacts with the world and your character. Start slow to truly understand the mechanic, and then pick up speed to test the limits of the skill and your own control of it. Your level 2 class skill, Updraft, turns your tornado into a powerful tool for additional mobility. Updraft lifts you into the air much faster than wind hopping and is great to use in sticky situations or when you're out of mana and want to remain in the air. It can also be set up to lift you into a high position on a castle tower or mountain, or get you right to an opponent in the high position. If you are being chased and do not need or want verticality, you can place a tornado behind you to throw off the opponent's attacks as the tornado changes its direction. You can also use it offensively to mix it with your own elements or try to keep an enemy in place. Learning when to use your tornado in which situations will take time to develop as you learn Tempest and what situations warrant the use of tornado. When using Updraft, you have to be extremely careful when the tornado is mixed with fire or toxic, as it is one element away from being a DF nado, which will spell the end of your match. You will also take damage over time if your tornado is mixed with any of these elements, and the damage isn't insignificant. Updraft as a tool can be extremely useful or detrimental depending on your situational awareness and knowledge of when and how to use it. One of the biggest factors between good Tempest players and great Tempest players is not only how smooth their movement is, but how they control their mana to ensure they always remain airborne during combat while taking shots at the opponents with their offhand. The most important factor in maintaining mana is being efficient with your wind hops. This will come with time as you learn how to wind hop, and your aim becomes faster as you have a short window of opportunity to get the shot off. When you're maintaining yourself in the air and you run out of mana, you are no longer able to wind shear to keep yourself up. This is when it's time to utilize your rune or Updraft to keep yourself up and recharge your mana so you can begin the cycle of attacking and wind hopping again. It is extremely important to keep track of your cooldowns so you can prepare yourself should you be coming to the ground when you are most vulnerable to most attacks. At times, you may also want to mix in levitate to either make it those couple extra inches to a ledge or to throw off your opponent's attacks and be more unpredictable, but it can be a big drain on your mana pool. Testing the limits of the mana pool is great to do in practice while practicing your wind jumps, levitate usage, and mixing in attacks to learn the order of cooldowns and what to do when you've run out of mana. As mana management is so crucial for Tempest, the most important upgrades you can find are a better rarity wind, as this reduces the mana cost of your wind shears, and a better amulet which increases your mana pool. These two items are absolutely key in taking advantage of your class to its fullest, as you're extremely dependent on mana to remain airborne and utilize your class skills. At worst, you want to have at least rare, and when you have them as legendary, there's so much freedom to stay in the air indefinitely. As Tempest, you'll want fast mobility, which assists in keeping you airborne but quick enough to dodge incoming projectiles. As Tempest players are extremely predictable at the peak of their height, it can be important to dodge an incoming attack rather than going for a shot, and unless you are near something to move you horizontally, you must use your rune. It is not only meant to help you dodge while in a vulnerable state, but to also maintain yourself in the air for mana conservation. My two favorite runes to use while playing Tempest are Dash and Flight, and other runes such as Spring Step and Shadow Step are also excellent options to use. A majority of these runes have short cooldowns and lets you easily rotate them with your tornado cooldown, and when you're running low on mana, to continue remaining in the air, to never touch the ground, and keep taking advantage of your class skills. Although Flight has a longer cooldown, it can be used to Flight Dash and is a solid rune choice to chase other players using Flight or Teleport. Overall, the best rune choice when playing Tempest is Dash due to the high mobility, momentum carry, and fast cooldown with the different available tech you can achieve. There is a bit of tech you can do with Tempest, and most of it revolves around the Dash rune due to the momentum carry that the rune has, which Tempest can utilize with its class skills for additional mobility. This tech is very important to learn as it will give you an edge against other players and even other Tempest players for increased mobility, making you more difficult to catch and hit. Wind walking is when your character is running with the gained momentum from horizontal wind jumping. The only skill this uses is Windsurge and can be done at any time you are grounded and near a wall for horizontal movement. This tech is great for traversing the map, running away from a fight, or trying to chase someone down. Do be careful though, as you can be vulnerable on the ground, so use this when you are sure you're safe. In order to wind walk, you must be holding the strafe button towards the wall you are next to, and then begin using Windsurge on the wall at an angle. Once you start to gain some speed, you turn around and switch from strafing to holding forward, and you will now be wind walking. You can tell you are wind walking when it almost looks like you're moving faster than your legs are, to the point that it looks like you're slide running. Dash Hop utilizes the Dash rune and Windsurge to give you additional mobility and height while wind hopping, to make you more difficult to hit and get an easier shot in, as you'll be in the air for a longer period of time before having to make an action to remain airborne. This is one of the most used tech for Tempest players, as it is easy to execute and can easily disorient your opponents in the middle of combat due to the mobility when you're using this. Do note you are using up a rune cooldown to achieve this, and depending on the situation, you want to have that rune charge available. Either way, this is tech for Tempest you should definitely learn and perfect as soon as possible. It is also quite simple to execute, as all you need to do is dash forward while looking down a bit, and at the peak of your dash, wind hop a couple of times. Dash Nado is similar to Dash Hop, but instead you will be placing a tornado and dashing into it in a similar fashion to gain height and distance at a great speed. This is a great tool to quickly reach high places and gain an easy height advantage, or to escape over mountains and walls. At times, it may be risky to use as you first place your tornado, and in that window before you enter them, they can easily apply with Fire Toxic or both and get some easy damage onto you. Dash Hop Nado is a combination of the two techs we just learned. You dash into your tornado for Updraft, and as you enter your Nado, you want to wind hop beneath you, and this will propel you even further than anything else. This is great if you need a ton of immediate height, and it's quite fun how high it sends you up. Be wary of the elemental interactions with Tornado, as you should always be with any of your Nados. For the final part of this guide, I'll be letting you know how to counter Tempest. Frankly, I didn't want to do this part because Tempest is my favorite class, and I don't want people to know how to counter it, but on we go. There is one main point where Tempest is at its most vulnerable, and no, even being on the ground can be deemed safer than this. Once the Tempest player reaches the peak of their height from either wind hopping or using Updraft, they are slowed in the air until they take an action, such as shooting a spell or using a rune. This leaves a window of opportunity for you to get a quick hit onto the Tempest player. They also have limited air strafing, which makes their fall quite predictable. If they are playing Frost offhand, this predictable line will be much longer compared to other offhand gauntlets. Lightning Gauntlet and Frost Gauntlet specifically are great to use during this window of opportunity and put the Tempest player in a bad place. Hopefully with this video, you'll have a better understanding of Tempest and how to utilize its skills and different tech to become the airbender you've always wanted to be. I honestly find Tempest to be one of the most fun classes due to the mobility and freedom of movement, but certainly has a high skill cap due to Windsurge, mana management, and cooldown management. This is Ghosty. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget you can also follow me on Twitch and Twitter for more content and updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the HoloLands.